The void screamed with static as Haven 7 burned. From the bridge of the TAS Resolute, Captain Ilara Voss watched the Kryn fleet spread across the darkness like a disease, blotting out the stars one by one. Their warships glowed with cold crimson light, each vessel a shard of menace. Refugee transports scattered ahead of them, frantic and defenseless. "Captain," Lieutenant Imani whispered at the comms station, eyes wide. "They expect us to run." Ilara's jaw tightened. "Then we'll ruin their expectations." The words cut through the fear. On the bridge, officers straightened in their chairs. The air of dread shifted thin, but enough. The order came crisp and sharp. "Bring us about. Arm forward batteries. We strike first." The Resolute surged into motion. Engines burned bright, hurling the heavy cruiser directly toward the Kryn vanguard. On tactical screens, the alien ships loomed impossibly large. Commander Reyes, her second-in-command, leaned closer. "Ilara, 3 ships against 30? We won't survive." "We don't need to survive the fleet," she said, her voice steady. "We only need to remind them who we are." A murmur passed through the crew, not of dissent, but grim acceptance. The first engagement came in a flash. Resolute's cannons roared, sending spears of plasma tearing into a Kryn scout. The alien vessel broke apart, a chain of white-hot explosions scattering debris across the void. The crew cheered, but Ilara didn't smile. "That's the easy kill. Now they're angry." The Kryn retaliated. Crimson lances cut through space, shaking the cruiser's hull. Shields flared. Metal screamed under strain. "Evasive!" Reyes barked. "Starboard roll!" The ship twisted violently, sliding between enemy beams. Sparks rained from a blown console. A young ensign clutched his burned hand, refusing to leave his post. Ilara's gaze swept across the bridge. Her people weren't flinching. That mattered. In the Kryn flagship, Archlord Serkhal leaned back on his throne of bone and steel. He watched the Terran defiance with a predator's smirk. "They resist?" hissed his adjutant. "For now," Serkhal replied, amused. "They are insects with fire. Curious, but insects nonetheless." He issued no order to end the skirmish quickly. He wanted to savor it, see how long the humans could burn before breaking. Ilara knew brute force would not win. She called up the map of Haven 7's orbital plane. "Set course for grid Delta 9, she ordered. Reyes frowned. "The abandoned refinery?" "Exactly. We left more than rust there." The fleet maneuvered, battered transports following the Resolute like shadows. Kryn's ships pursued, arrogant, certain of victory. As they closed in, Ilara gave the signal. "Detonate the mines." For decades, humanity had seeded defensive charges across unused orbital facilities. When triggered, the refinery field erupted. Blazing fireballs consumed the pursuing cruisers, tearing holes in their perfect formation. Metal shrieked, shattered hulls spiraled into the void. On the bridge, silence held for a heartbeat. Then the crew exhaled in ragged relief. Reyes turned, disbelief softening his stern features. "We just crippled them." "Not enough," Ilara said. Her voice carried steel. "But they'll remember this. Humanity doesn't run." The battle dragged into chaos. Kryn vessels regrouped, hammering the battered Terran line. The Resolute weaved through wreckage, protecting transports at the cost of its own armor. Every hit rattled the crew, but they clung to their posts. In engineering, Chief Solano patched ruptured conduits with nothing but grit and scavenged plating. "Tell the captain she owes me a drink if we live," he muttered through smoke. By the time the Kryn withdrew to regroup, space was littered with wreckage, human and alien alike. The Resolute bled atmosphere from a dozen wounds. Ilara stood at the viewport, eyes fixed on the crimson glare of the distant flagship. She knew who commanded it. Serkhal, the warlord who had broken half a dozen frontier races. He would not forget her defiance. Reyes approached quietly. "We bought the colony time. But at this pace," he hesitated, lowering his voice. "We can't keep this up forever." "No," Ilara admitted. "But long enough." That's all we need. She turned back to her crew, her voice carrying strength she forced from exhaustion. Signal the Accord. Tell them Haven 7 stands. And tell the people, humanity doesn't flee. In the shadows of his throne, Sir Call laughed. The sound was cold, delighted. So the little mammals bare their teeth, he mused. His claws drummed on the armrest. Good. It will be more satisfying when I tear them out. He leaned forward, crimson eyes gleaming. Prepare the fleet. Next time, I will crush them myself. The Resolute drifted in the aftermath, smoke trailing from its scars. The crew worked tirelessly, patching wounds, tending to the injured. The colony below remained untouched, alive only because Alara refused to run. She knew the reprieve was temporary. The Kryn would return, and next time, they would come in force. But she also knew something else. For the first time, humanity had stared down the galaxy's predators and not broken. As the stars slowly reappeared through the dispersing wreckage, Alara whispered a promise to herself, her crew, and the billions depending on her. They thought we would run. They were wrong. And with that, the war truly began. The Terran Accord broadcast the stand at Haven 7 across every channel. Footage of burning Kryn cruisers, battered transports escaping under human guns, and the battered silhouette of the Resolute became a rallying cry. Colonists in scattered stations raised makeshift banners. Soldiers whispered Captain Alara Voss's name like a shield. But inside the cruiser, there was no glory. Only exhaustion. Hull plates rattled under patchwork repairs, entire decks stank of scorched metal, and half the crew lived on stimulants to keep systems operational. Alara sat in the command chair, posture rigid but eyes rimmed with fatigue. Commander Reyes dropped into the seat beside her, a ration bar clutched between grease-stained fingers. You've become a symbol, he said, chewing with little enthusiasm. The Accord loves it. The colonies too. You've given them hope. Hope doesn't plug reactor leaks, she replied dryly. Reyes studied her. And yet you don't sound proud. Because symbols don't bleed, she answered, voice low. My crew does. On the far side of the frontier, the Galactic Council debated in its vast chamber of crystalline towers. Dozens of species spoke in layered voices, their holographic forms glittering over the central dais. The humans invite destruction upon themselves, one elder rasped. We must not intervene. They are unproven. They are reckless, another agreed. Unstable. A softer voice challenged them. Or perhaps they are the only ones with the courage to resist Kryn expansion. If they fall, who stands next? The council resolved nothing. They rarely did. But messages of doubt and curiosity spread through their networks. Humanity, once dismissed as irrelevant, now stood in the spotlight. In the Resolute's war room, Alara gathered her officers. A hollow map of the frontier burned in shades of red, territories swallowed by the Kryn. One system pulsed brighter than the rest, Ardent Prime. Intel confirms their next strike, she said. Ardent isn't just another colony. It's our logistics hub. If it falls, every outpost in this sector collapses. A murmur rippled across the room. Reyes frowned. We don't have the numbers. They'll throw half their fleet at Ardent. They think we'll retreat again, Alara countered. But this time, we don't give them the chance. We fight with what we have. Her officers exchanged grim looks, but no one argued. They had seen Haven 7. They knew she meant it. That night, Alara walked the corridors alone. The ship hummed with strained energy, bulkheads patched with scavenged plating. She passed crew members sleeping in corners, mechanics slumped beside open conduits, Marines sharpening knives out of habit more than need. She paused at the viewport. Beyond the glass stretched the frontier's endless stars, fragile points of light threatened by a crimson tide. Captain, a voice said behind her. It was Ensign Imani, the young comms officer. Her uniform was smeared with carbon, her expression weary but unshaken. Ma'am, the crew believes in you, Imani said softly. We know what's coming. We're ready. Alara turned, meeting her eyes. For a moment, she let the mask drop. You're not afraid? Of course I am, Imani admitted. But fear isn't the same as running. We've all decided. We stand. Alara nodded once, silently grateful. Humanity's strength wasn't its ships or weapons. It was this: ordinary people refusing to yield. When the Kryn came for Ardent Prime, the sky lit with fire. Their fleet unfolded from hyperspace, titanic and merciless. Dozens of black holes eclipsed the planet's pale surface. On the bridge of his flagship, Archlord Cirkhal surveyed the system with satisfaction. Another Terran nest to burn, he murmured. His adjutant snarled. Their courage is irritating. Then we will snuff it out, Cirkhal said, claws curling against the armrest. Prepare the extermination. The Resolute arrived first, leading a ragged fleet of Terran defenders, old cruisers, converted freighters, even civilian craft welded with cannons. Against Kryn perfection, they looked pitiful. Reyes eyed the tactical display. They'll tear us apart in minutes. Not if we change the rules, Alara replied. Her orders came rapid, clear. Scatter the fleet. Don't give them a formation to crush. Hit and fade. Draw them thin. And so began the most chaotic battle of the frontier. Terran ships darted through debris fields, striking like hornets. A freighter disguised as a crippled transport detonated at point-blank range, taking a Kryn destroyer with it. Small gunboats streaked through gaps, lancing enemy shields before vanishing. The Kryn fired in disciplined volleys, but found themselves swiping at ghosts. On the Resolute, alarms screamed constantly. Shields buckled, armor peeled, atmosphere vented through ragged holes. Yet the crew fought on, their attacks unpredictable, maddening. Cirkhal snarled as he watched his fleet bleed from irritant wounds. They are vermin, he roared. Crush them! But the more he pressed, the more elusive the humans became. Mid-battle, Alara made her move. Target their command vessel, she ordered. Reyes stared at her. That's suicide. Maybe, she said, hands steady on the railing. But break the head, the body falters. The Resolute plunged straight into the heart of the enemy formation. Plasma beams slashed around them, carving glowing wounds across the hull. Consoles burst, crews shouted over fire and smoke. Still they drove forward, shields flickering to nothing. At point-blank range, Alara gave the command. All batteries, fire! The barrage hammered the Kryn flagship's shields until they screamed and failed. The enemy staggered, their perfect lines shattering. Human ships seized the opening, striking hard. For the first time, Cirkhal's composure cracked. He rose from his throne, eyes blazing. She dares? But before he could regroup, Terran torpedoes ripped through the flagship's flanks. It lurched, burning. The humans did not win outright. Too many ships fell, too many lives were lost. But the Kryn did not claim Ardent Prime. Their armada withdrew, bloodied and shaken, leaving wreckage behind. On the battered bridge of the Resolute, silence hung heavy. Smoke curled through broken panels, crews slumped with exhaustion. Alara stood tall, uniform scorched, voice raw but unbroken. Transmit this to every colony, she said. We stood at Ardent. We held. We will not run. Her words carried beyond the battlefield, echoing across the accord. Miners on distant moons, soldiers in dugouts, civilians clinging to fragile shelters, all heard the same message: humanity still fought. In his throne room, Cirkhal's fury burned cold. He had underestimated them again. No longer was this curiosity or irritation. Now it was personal. Summon the full Dominion, he growled. If they refuse to kneel, then humanity will die screaming. Back aboard the Resolute, Alara walked once more among her crew. Their eyes followed her with reverence, but she felt the weight more than the pride. Every victory meant more lives at stake, more pressure to endure. Reyes caught her gaze. You know he'll come for us personally now. I'm counting on it, Alara said. Outside, the wreckage of Ardent Prime's battle drifted through the void, silent testimony that humanity would not break. The war had grown larger, the stakes sharper. But one truth held firm: They would never run. The call came at dawn, Earth Standard Time. Alarms rippled through every Accord channel. The Kryn Dominion had committed its full strength. An armada larger than any the frontier had seen poured into hyperspace corridors, aimed directly at Sol. Humanity's heart, its birthplace, would burn. On the Resolute, battered from Ardent Prime, silence hung in the command deck as the report finished. Then Commander Reyes said what they all thought. If Earth falls, there is no Accord. No humanity. Nothing. Captain Ilara Voss studied the stars beyond the viewport. They glimmered like fragile candles, all threatened by the crimson tide. Then we meet them before they reach home, she said. One last stand. The fleet that gathered was pitiful compared to the Kryn wave. A dozen cruisers scarred from countless skirmishes. Converted freighters, patched so many times they barely held together. Gunboats held aloft by the courage of their pilots more than by engineering. Yet every ship that could move came. No one stayed behind. Ilara's image beamed across the fleet. Her uniform was frayed, her eyes shadowed by sleepless nights, but her voice carried steel. They believe we will run. They expect us to scatter. But we are Terran. We endure storms. We carry scars. We don't kneel, and we don't flee. If Earth must burn, it burns with us standing on the line. The comm channels erupted with responses. For Earth. For the Accord. For humanity. The trap was set near the Veil, a supernova remnant whose fractured gravity well and unstable energy fields created chaos even for advanced sensors. Ilara's plan was simple: draw the Kryn in, force them into the storm, and use their arrogance against them. Risky, Reyes murmured at her side. Risky is all we have left, she answered. The Kryn armada arrived like a wall of night. Cirque Hall's flagship led the way, its crimson eyes burning. His voice echoed across open channels, dripping contempt. Humans! Vermin! You cling to scraps of rock, gnawing at survival. Today, your kind is erased. Ilara opened her channel. Her tone was sharp as a blade. We've heard that before. Look around you, Cirque Hall. We're still here. His laughter was low and cruel. Then I will end you personally. The battle began with fury. Terran ships darted through wreckage fields, unleashing torpedoes before vanishing behind the supernova's shifting currents. Kryn cruisers answered with disciplined volleys, their crimson beams carving through space. Entire human vessels vanished in fire, yet others pressed forward, unrelenting. Starboard battery gone! An officer cried. Reroute power! Ilara snapped. Shocks rattled the Resolute. The hull bled sparks and smoke, yet the crew refused to yield. Marines sealed breaches with their bodies harnessed to bulkheads, engineers fought flames with bare hands. Every soul aboard understood, this was where history turned. Mid-battle, Cirque Hall pushed deeper into the Veil, confident the humans would break. Instead, he found chaos. Gravity wells twisted his formations, scattering his ships. Ambushes tore through his flanks. Small Terran gunboats rammed engines at suicidal speed, detonating inside the hearts of destroyers. Reyes gritted his teeth. We're bleeding them. Not enough, Ilara replied, eyes fixed on Cirque Hall's flagship. We need the head. The Resolute surged forward, diving into the heart of the storm. Plasma beams clawed across its armor, tearing through decks. Dozens of crew were lost in a single strike, yet the ship drove on. At last, the Kryn flagship filled the viewport, a mountain of obsidian steel. Its cannons dwarfed the Resolute. Cirque Hall appeared again on the comm, his grin sharp with malice. You bring this scrap before me? Then I will scatter it across the void. Ilara stood tall, voice calm. You think strength is measured in tonnage. You'll learn it's measured in will. The duel began. The Resolute hammered its plasma batteries into the flagship's shields, each strike barely scratching the surface. In return, Kryn beams gutted the cruiser, carving glowing scars across its hull. Systems failed one after another, but Ilara pushed forward closer. Captain, we can't take another volley! Reyes shouted. We won't, she answered. Prepare the gravity charges. The crew obeyed without question, hands shaking as they armed the unstable devices. Elara maneuvered the Resolute to the very edge of the Veil's fractured core, the unstable singularity pulsing with lethal energy. Sir Call sneered. "Cornering yourself will not save you." "It's not a corner," Elara replied. "It's a trap." At her command, the gravity charges detonated. The Veil's unstable currents flared, dragging the Kryn flagship into the storm's maw. Alarms blared as space itself buckled. Sir Call roared, claws raking his throne as his vessel was pulled into the Singularity's grip. "No! I will not be undone by vermin!" The Resolute fired its last salvo, piercing the crippled flagship as it collapsed under the crushing gravity. The Kryn vessel twisted, imploded, and was consumed by the storm. Sir Call's final scream echoed through broken comms before silence claimed him. The battlefield stilled. Kryn ships, leaderless and scattered, faltered. Terran vessels pressed the advantage, forcing them into retreat. One by one, the crimson lights vanished into hyperspace, leaving wreckage adrift in the storm. The Resolute floated broken, decks aflame, half its systems dead. Yet it still lived. And so did humanity. Elara stood on the ruined bridge, smoke curling around her, uniform scorched. Her voice, raw but unbroken, carried across every surviving ship. "They thought we would run. They thought we would kneel. Today, they learned what it means to fight humanity. We stood. We endured. And we are still here." Cheers erupted across the fleet. Some cried, some pounded fists against consoles, some simply closed their eyes in relief. In the council chambers far away, alien delegates watched the recordings in silence. The humans had faced annihilation and refused to yield. The murmurs began: respect, fear, curiosity. The species once dismissed as reckless had proven they were something else entirely. As the Resolute drifted among the wreckage, Elara looked out through shattered glass at the stars beyond. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself a long breath. Reyes stepped beside her, weary but alive. "It's over, for now." She nodded. "For now." But the galaxy was watching. "They'll never underestimate us again," he said. Elara's gaze lingered on the endless night. "Good. Let them wonder. Let them remember that when the storm came, humanity did not run." The stars burned quietly, eternal witnesses. And across the galaxy, the name of humanity carried a new weight. No longer the prey. No longer the weak. They had stood, and they had been wrong to ever doubt them.